I wasn't that cool. I was like just cool enough to not be awful and like just awful enough not to be cool. And honestly, like Fangs was never supposed to be what this is, what Fangs has become. I just wanted to write songs for other people. If it's not fun for me, I don't want to do it. And so Fangs has continued to be fun, and so I'm still doing it.
And now I think I hate the internet, 'cause every shape looks like your silhouette. Avoiding you like I'm an acrobat. You're everywhere, I'm not okay with that.
Hey, this is Fangs, and this is Making of an Artist.
I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with that. Not okay with that. I'm not okay with that. Put it down. It's 2 a.m. Where are you now?
Welcome back, everybody, to the Makings of an Artist podcast. My name is Sebastian Cowsill, and today we have with us an artist from the music city itself, Phangs. Man, thank you so much for being with me today.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
So, Phangs, you have been in the music scene for a long minute. But one thing I kind of want to focus on with you first is your childhood, because I see you mention it a lot without many people really dialing in on it. You were a 90s baby, is that right?
I was born in 88, but yeah, I grew up in the 90s.
Yeah. Okay. Talk to me about that, because I really do get that 90s pop vibe when I listen to your music. Are there any artists from that era you feel you carry with you, whether you acknowledge it or it's a subconscious thing?
Yeah, I mean, an obvious one is Michael. Like, I love Michael Jackson so much. It's just, it like seeps out of me. Melody and rhythm wise, I really love TLC. And honestly, like, I don't know if you would know or understand it, but like Spice Girls is like a big thing for me. I love Spice Girls. That's later in the 90s, but all of that kind of stuff, I don't know. I grew up on it, and that's what my mother listened to growing up. My dad weirdly was really into Kiss and Guns N' Roses, which he if you saw him you wouldn't assume that, but he really liked that. And then my mom really loved, Michael and Janet and Mariah Carey and Whitney and that whole era. I loved it so much, and I think that growing up, my parents were really young, and so we listened to that a lot. But we also my grandparents, I don't talk about this very much, but like my grandparents helped raise me a lot because my parents were so young, they had to work often. And so I just would, especially in the summers, I would just stay with my grandparents all the time. And they both had above ground pools in Texas. And I would just like be in the pool all day, every day with a big boombox, just playing the 90s hits,
Mm-hmm.
So it's like when I think about like my happiest times, like being a little kid and like being in a swimming pool, it's those songs that are the soundtrack.
Very cool. I know you were involved in quite a few different bands before you started Fangs, and we'll get into that in a bit. But before all that, when did you first pick up music in your youth?
My parents made me play saxophone in middle school because I told you like they were young and like we didn't have very much money, so they made me play the saxophone. Well, they made me play just in the middle school band, and I didn't want to. And if I did it, I wanted to play drums really badly. But you have to go and like try out, which it's so dumb because nobody knows how to play any of the stuff, and they tell you like it's like the Sorting Hat in Harry Potter or something.
Right.
But they told me I was going to play saxophone, and I was really bummed out about it. And so I was really bad at it too, and I still to this day I can't read music, but I just didn't care about it. I didn't want to do it. And so my band director made me the tenor sax player instead of alto sax like everybody else. So I was the only person in my group. I was first chair immediately, and I really hated it. But as soon as I had to do it, it was like a house rule, like 6th through 8th grade, you have to do band. So I did it, and as soon as I was done with 8th grade, I like never did it again. I was happy that was the end of it. But then at my grandmother's house, my dad's mother. She's remarried to this great guy. His name is Doug, and that's just what I've always called him. He's basically my grandfather, but his name is Doug. I consider him my grandfather. I know him very well, and I don't know the other guy very well at all. But he played guitar. He like played guitar and bass, and he even played saxophone, and he played drums, and he played everything. And he was in this blues band growing up, and I thought like that was so cool. And they literally at the time lived in like a double wide trailer on the lake in Texas, which is like so East Texan, like where I'm from. That's like the thing. But there was this one room right when you walked in, it was just full of gear, and just had like a drum kit and a saxophone and all these guitars and amps and like a big Leslie amp thing for like an organ and all this crazy stuff. And they just let me go in there and make noise all the time. And no one ever told me to stop. And that's what I think is cool. And I think that's more the important thing of why I play music now is I don't know if you've ever been in a double wide trailer, but the walls are very thin. And they would be having like Thanksgiving or Christmas and like the whole family is there and we're all like on the back patio and stuff around the swimming pool, everything. And I was just in there making as much noise as possible, and no one ever told me to stop. And I think that was really cool. I don't think I understood how cool that was at the time.
Right.
But looking back, it was really cool.
At what point were you inspired to start like actually taking it serious and learning and whatnot?
I think like taking seriously probably around like freshman, sophomore year of high school.
I see. At the time, were you emulating or imitating any of those great 90s pop acts when you initially got into it?
No, definitely not. I was just super into like emo MySpace music. I was definitely a kid with hormones and didn't know what to do with them. And I wasn't that cool. I was like just cool enough to not be awful and like just awful enough not to be cool. I was just in this weird middle zone, and I liked Taking Back Sunday and Reliant K and The Starting Line and All American Rejects and bands like that. And I just wanted to do that.
What later inspired you to jump into the actual music scene? I think it saw that you did that right after graduation. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I started playing shows in Texas, and I had a really awful band that I was in high school. Our first show was at a fair, the East Texas State Fair. It was a battle of the bands, and we lost in the finals to a little girl who sang "God Bless the USA." But yeah, I did that for a while, and I played shows, and it was kind of more of a hobby. And you could tell though that like I took it way more seriously than all of my peers around me, and I thought it was really fun. At the time, I thought I was going to just like play pro soccer, and that was it. I had like a soccer scholarship and all this stuff, and I went to school for like a minute and played soccer. I played one season of soccer in college and did really well and really loved it, and decided that summer I got to go on Warped Tour. This friend of mine who I'm still very good friends with to this day, he called me, and actually probably MySpace messaged me or AOL instant messaged me, one of the two, and asked me if I wanted to go on Warped Tour and play bass in his band called The Secret Handshake. And I went on tour, and I never went back to school, and I never even thought of having another career.
Why was that? What made you want to continue with that versus doing the traditional route?
I think part of it is going back to being a kid. We didn't have much money, and like I never went on vacation. I went on one vacation. It was the summer of 1999. And I remember it. I remember every moment of it because it was like the only time. It was the one vacation. And so we went to Chicago, and that was it. Like we went to Chicago, and it wasn't anything crazy. And being on tour, I got to see the whole country, and I got to do all these things. And you know, my parents weren't there, and it was cool. And I was just a kid. I was 18, and not only was I 18 and on tour, but like I was on Warped Tour, which to me as a kid, that was the mecca, you know, of music. And all my favorite bands were on that tour. Tom DeLonge was doing Angels and Airwaves. Paramore was on it. Say Anything was on it. My favorite band as a kid, Reliant K, was on it. Katy Perry was on that tour. Like, it was just the craziest thing. After that, like, why would I want to do anything else, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just fell in love with it.
Now, after your career with the Secret Handshake, you were lead vocalist of, was it Cardboard City? Is that right?
Cardboard Kids, yeah.
Cardboard Kids, my bad.
No, you're good.
So you kind of jumped around from a few different projects. What pulled you to eventually, though, land on Phangs?
I did Cardboard Kids, and more so that was just kind of like I was making a solo thing. It was like a solo like singer-songwriter thing called like just under my name, Jake Germany, and the album was going to be called Cardboard Kids. And I was writing this whole like concept thing about like I don't know, I don't even remember what, like just about like living in a small town, same songwriter stuff everybody writes around when they're angsty young people. But these friends of mine, I had asked them to play on the album with me and like go to the studio, and they came with me and we made the album. And then we were like, hey, it would be cool if we were just a band. And they brought it to me, and I was into it. I thought that they were really nice, and I thought that they were cool. And we ended up moving to Nashville, and we signed a record deal with like a boutique label here in Nashville, which is, there are a lot of those here. We ended up getting songs in like all over that show, Shameless. We had like a theme song for 2 different UFC fights. They were both Conor McGregor fights. I don't know anything about UFC. I just remember that guy's name.
No, that's crazy. Yeah, I'm a big fan of USC. That's insane.
It was crazy. We had this song called Throne, and it was like the big song for these fights. But we got all these crazy commercials and doing all this stuff, and we played all these shows. And it was really, really fun. And I ended up meeting the guys in Reliant K by accident. And I mentioned before, like they were my favorite band when I was a kid. And they really liked Cardboard Kids, and we ended up playing some shows with them. And then whenever we stopped doing Cardboard Kids, I ended up becoming part of Reliant K, which is like the craziest thing in the world to me, to be in a band with like, you know, my idols as a kid, to where like I play keys and sing, and like I set up my keys like kind of at a 90-degree angle on the stage to where I'm looking at literally the lead singer, like Matt Thiessen. And I'm sitting there singing, and I look up sometimes and I'm just like, this is crazy. That's wild. He's right there. I'm singing like the same words. This is really wild. But yeah, then I just decided I wanted to do something for myself, something that meant a lot to me. And honestly, like Phangs was never supposed to be what this is, what Phangs has become. I just wanted to write songs for other people. I'd had some success, like I mentioned, like in the TV and film world, and I thought like I met Reliant K through writing a song for one of the guys' girlfriends at the time, and I didn't know that they were even dating. I just wrote a song for this girl, and she loved it, and I produced it with her boyfriend. That sparked this whole thing. But my goal with Phangs was just to have a name, just an entity in which I just wrote songs under. And then I put some songs on the internet, and people started getting tattoos of lyrics and the teeth logo that I have and like all these things. And it turned into a way bigger deal than I ever expected it to be. And I've just been kind of following it, man. It's been crazy.
Very cool. One thing that I did see when looking in a 2016 article with Atwood magazine, you mentioned that there was this time you were upset while you're on tour with the Secret Handshake about what was your personal stuff at the time, your personal music. And you said it was way too premature to start it at that time in your life. Why did you say that? Why was that?
Well, and I think that, so the stuff that I was writing during that time that I was like getting frustrated about, that was the album called Cardboard Kids. I was writing that album, and it was just too uninspired, maybe. I just wasn't mature enough to handle and process the feelings that I was having. So instead, I was just trying to write what I thought people wanted to hear. And what people wanted to hear during that era was, because I mean, that would have been, I was writing that stuff in like 2008, 2009, something like that. That era was just a bunch of like whiny guys, swoopy hair, you know, like that's just what it was. And that's cool. And it inspired me to a degree, but I wasn't ready yet to like fully be doing what I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm. Now you say, you know, when you started Phangs, you started it for others. Was that kind of switch in perspective what made you feel like you were ready to start Phangs when you did?
Yeah. Well, I think I got to a point where I literally when I was in high school, I had a piece of paper that was like my goals of what I wanted in music. And the goals, I'm not joking, were like make a CD, like put the CD out. And then like the number one thing was go on Warp Tour. And I did all of that in the first like 6 months out of high school, you know? Like, and so it's
Hmm.
just, it's not like, it's no way like a cocky thing or an ego thing, because I found out very quickly those are not things that make you successful, famous, or any of those things. All of the people who I looked up to did those things. But I think that with Fangs, I just wanted to do what was fun, and I didn't really care about the rest of it. If it's not fun for me, I don't want to do it. And so Fangs has continued to be fun, and so I'm still doing it.
Very cool. Now we look at it, and you just released your song with Billboard. Okay with that. And you've seen, like you said, you've seen a lot of success with Fangs since the beginning. I mean, even after releasing your first single, Cul-de-sac, you were selling out, shows and whatnot. What has that kind of success meant to you, seeing your music be accepted so quickly like that, and still continuing to do well and collect feats to today?
Yeah, I mean, it means everything. It's crazy to me because like I genuinely I wasn't in the beginning, like I wasn't trying to cultivate this thing. I wasn't trying to play sold out shows. I was just trying to have fun and make some songs that I thought were tight. It turns out it means some stuff to these people now. And so now it's interesting because there is a level of like healthy pressure that's on me of like, I can't just put out a song now that's because these songs were so important to me as I wrote them, just having fun. They still said some very heavy things, and it inspired these fans and these people to get the lyrics tattooed on them, like I have to not let those people down. And I'm not trying to like live my life based on these people, but I think about them every day. And so it's like when I go into to write a song, or if I go into releasing a song, if it doesn't have the same juice that that song had, then what's the point? Like they're going to read through it and they're going to understand. So even for like this new album that I have that's done, I wrote another album before that. And I just kind of like, I don't know, just kind of crapped this album out, and it was all right. And it was cool. Like there's some bangers, but they didn't mean anything. And so I just know that the people that care and the people that are selling out those shows and the people that are buying the merch and getting the tattoos, they would know. They would read through it. And so to answer your question, it means a lot. It means everything to me. I cater my life to them now, which is really wild.
Hmm. Yeah, I bet. Just a couple more questions, though, we like to ask everybody here. The first is, what advice would you give to artists trying to make it today?
I used to give a really bad answer. Maybe not really bad, but a pretty bad answer. I used to tell people that they should just practice, 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 practice. And then, like, when they feel good about it, like, put stuff out and play shows. And I've found, through Fang specifically, I've found that that is the wrong answer. And that, in my opinion, the best thing you can do, the best advice I can give you is to just go do it and fail at it if you have to fail, and succeed at it if you succeed, and figure it out as you go. Because, when you buy a computer now, it comes with recording software.
Mhm.
Like, you can make anything you want. Always Been You is my biggest song, and I made it on GarageBand with Skull Candy earbuds. I didn't have speakers. I didn't have any mixing stuff. I just had fun with what I had, and it turned into this thing. And so, with all of that, and with Instagram and with Twitter, you can literally, like, that is your website, that is your platform. You don't need anything else. You can reach people with your music. So it's really crazy. It's a crazy time.
Hmm. Very true. I had a guest a few weeks ago. It was Foreign Air, actually.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Yeah, they said, the computer really is like that new extra band member that's essential to everybody's.
Yeah. It's like 8 of my band members.
The last question is, you just dropped your single, Okay With That. You just mentioned an album, which you also did mention in your article with Billboard.
Mhm.
What can you tell me for the future of Fangs with that? I mean, what's coming out that you can tease?
Yeah, the album is called Who's Gonna Break Your Heart Tonight? It's coming. It's done. I got to I got to write some songs with some really great people and work with a lot of like close friends of mine that I've been working with. Brett Truitt here in Nashville. He's done basically everything since the first EP that I put out. We've worked together. This guy Dominic Florio. We did the song "Build Me Up" together. He's got 2 songs that I did with him on the album, and then I got to write with like a superstar inspiration of mine, Bonnie McKee, who wrote like pretty much all the hits on Teenage Dream for Katy Perry. So it's really cool. I'm excited about it. I'm really excited to put it out. It's kind of this loose story, just a night alone dealing with your shit and like not leaving and just like really dealing with what you have going on. And then at the end, there's a literal friend in the album who like calls you and tells you like, "Hey man, you gotta come. Like, you gotta get out of your room. You gotta come and like hang out. We're gonna go hang out." So yeah, I'm excited about it.
Very cool. Well, we're definitely excited here to hear it. But thank you, man, for taking your time to come onto the show. I really do appreciate it.
Man, thank you.
If people want to find you online, where can they go? What's your social media and stuff?
Yeah, it's just This Is Fangs on everything.
All right, very cool. Well, everyone go check him out there. Go look up on Spotify, Apple Music, whatever you listen to your music on and support. Again, thank you, man, for spending some time with me. I hope you have a good one.
Yeah, man, thank you too. Be safe with all this virus stuff, man.
You too. You as well.
All right, dude. See ya.
See ya. Again, thank you, Phangs, for coming onto the show. And thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, follow us on social media, and throw us some downloads and ratings on iTunes. Become a member of our Patreon as well to get these episodes a week early, as well as other perks like monthly bonus episodes, merch, and more. As always, though, we'll see you in the next episode.